And then when she arrives, she sees Hillman, but he's dressed in full armor and he has a shadowy cloak around him. And he tells her to continue to run, and then she jumps across the hill, across the wall into his arms, and he goes to confront the monsters by telling them to go away, and he increases the wall and they leave. And so when he leaves, he comes back and tells her, like, hey, this was a very bad idea. What did you do? And she just says, like, she's been through an ordeal. He responds by saying that this is just the beginning and will probably end in a wretchedly melodramatic fashion for all involved, myself included, which admittedly is nothing new. End quote. Love him so much. Luckily, the monsters on the hill do as he says, and the nightmares leave, and he's concerned that one of the monsters bit her, and she's not sure, like, she knows they gave her wounds, but she doesn't know how far they went with it, so he checks, and luckily they weren't actual bites. So he admits that the reason why things are bad for her is that she bested the wasteland in a dream without magic. This is an anomaly. It's not something that happens. So because of this, and because it was an impossible feat, there will be certain gifts. But he also advises that other people are going to come for her and to not trust anyone else. And so he tells her, so he gives her a necklace that he has. It's a medallion and it has 2 crescent moons on it. And each 2 crescent moons facing each other with an 8-pointed star suspended between them. The silver amulet. And he says to her, I will come for you. Sasha, Evangeline, Pierce, wait for me. Which is just so cute. The way the guy who does this in his section of the book, Steve West, he does such a phenomenal job, and love him so much. And in LL Starling's page on Instagram, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, when she's giving the hints and notifications about the audiobook being released, she actually has that bit with some dramatic music attached to it, and love it so much. And it's like, we're kind of confused because it's like, how does he know her full name, her full government name? And he says, I will come for you. And we don't know if this is a threat or a promise. Like, it sounds a little bit like a threat. And in chapter 9, Sasha wakes up and Lila is extremely upset and worried because she was it was like Sasha was screaming and thrashing around as though she were having a seizure, and Lila was unable to wake her up, and it was freaking Lila out. And especially when they break apart from the hugs and they see the amulet in her hand, because the amulet wasn't there before when Lila was trying to wake her up. It's like, what's going on? What the heck is going on? And then they freak out again. It's not funny, but it's funny. They scream again, and I'm really surprised that no one else heard and came to investigate to see what was going on. But they had a moment where they also saw more of the gold dust coming out, and so they see Lila examines Sasha's back and sees these scratches on her back and sees these marks, like there's these handprints on her that are just so creepy and just gross. But they burn marks. But what I really appreciate is that, like, okay, they had their freak out, but then Lila gets straight to business, saying that they're going to place cold compresses on the burns and disinfect the scratches. They're going to just take care of everything. They're going to get some alcohol in them. They're going to go see the doctor, and then they're going to talk to the person that seems to know more about what's going on, which is Rosa. So once they get that all taken care of with everything, they go to Rosa's place, and unfortunately Rosa can't really answer the questions that they give directly because she has an oath, and she does a really bad version of charades that luckily Sasha is able to figure out. But she says, like, hey, we have a meeting tonight, I'll introduce you to the other women who know more about what's going on. They're like, oh wait, there's another meeting that's going on tonight, isn't there? And it's the Old Middleton Historical Women's Society, and Lila was wanting to join to learn more about the event place anyway, but unfortunately it was not something that she was allowed to go to before, and now it makes sense because they're basically a coven of witches. Which gets us into chapter 10. At 5 o'clock, Sasha pours tea into Miss Adeline's second best teacups, and then at 7, 7 familiar women enter with Rosa, the headmistress, Esther, Daisy, Violet, Felicia, and old Mrs. Lansham. There are other members, but these are the highest ranking members of the group. We learn that and this is the chapter where we learn a lot about what's going on. We learn that Old Middleton lies on a portal that links our world to another, and that the women are all witches who guard the portal. We also learn that the girls actually spiked the tea with the truth elixir, so they're able to kind of just give the answers that they were asking for because they drugged them on purpose. And the tattoos that they've seen are actually called marks, and these marks are acquired when you master power over different elements: water, earth, fire, air. And Hellman has 4 of these marks, which freaks out the women. And the witches guard the portal, and the portal opens once a month on the first night of the full moon. The portal leads to the Otherworld, and in Otherworld is the kingdom called Between, because that kingdom sits between our world and the Otherworld kingdoms beyond it. Dreamers, the ones who enter once a month, are typically children or teenagers, and the dreamers will live out their fondest dreams. And these dreamers, they go on to become people who change the world. They become architectures. Dreamers, they have all these benefits from being chosen. It's not just something that happens at random. And so we have more puzzles to solve about how Sasha, a 30-year-old, was able to enter Between not just once, but every single time she falls asleep, which is supposed to be impossible. The only person who can open the portal to Between is the Shadow King, and we don't know who he is yet. We think this is some magician they call Old Turnip Head, but then they pull out the book and it shows that, oh, we have a new king. His name is Lorne, and it turned out. And so they decide, okay, they're going to summon him at midnight to learn more about what's going on and talk to him, figure out what they can do to fix these things. They also learn that he was the High King's left hand. High King rules over all the kingdoms of Otherworld, and the High King's left hand is his advisor in all magical affairs. The right hand of the High King is the High King's military advisor. Lorne became the Shadow King of Between after crossing the wasteland under orders from the High King, and Between isn't a hereditary monarchy. You either become appointed, or you can challenge the monarch to the throne to the death, or you may be destined, but in order to acquire all the power, they must become a true king or queen. The only way to do that is to defeat the nightmares, which is to cross the wasteland, which is what Sasha did. So she became a true queen of Between. But so they decided to summon the Shadow King, and that's when they decided to split up and they realized, oh, because Sasha is keeping open the portal, more things are going to come out, more dangerous things. So they need to start planning and getting ahead to protect not only Sasha, but Old Middleton as well. And now on to chapter 11, where we see that the reason why Sasha was actually drugged, and we find out that there was the use of a truth elixir, was to find out that Sasha was a witch. Because I guess all of the other substitute teachers from before were witches. Why they left before, we don't know, but we do learn that they actually did drug her, and we learned that it's to find out what was going on, instead of actually, asking her or anything like that. So Rosa also gives Sasha black and green crystals. The black crystals are black tourmaline, excellent for warding off psychic attacks, and the green crystals are peridot, which will protect from the nightmares. She also hands Sasha a dark green stone marked with pale green stripes called malachite. It's a powerful warning signal, and if she's in danger, the stone will break. And she's supposed to place this stone inside of her pocket. She also provides potions and ointments for the nightmare wounds so that she doesn't have any actual scars. They finish protecting the room, and then we find out that it's finally time to summon the Shadow King. And the location for where they need to summon the Shadow King is in the basement of the Pink Village Hall, and they find that Lila is covered in cobwebs and dirt. Basically, the library is in a secret chamber hidden beneath the Old Middleton gateway, and the books are alive and fight back. Because that was one of the things that they were deciding on to help figure out what was going on, and Lila volunteered to help with this. Lila had been through an ordeal thanks to the headmistress, but she doesn't know how stubborn Lila is. But at least Sasha was able to watch the witches turn the bedroom into a magically fortified bunker. She was able to find out some information though, which is that she will receive 2 types of gifts. First, she gets to ask 3 boons of the Shadow King, and Between itself will give her 3 gifts. We don't know how this works yet, but something will happen. happen. And this is when they summon the Shadow King. And of course, they verify that this is Lauren, and he immediately wants to bring her back to Between. But Sasha refuses because she also promised Lila this, but also, like, she has family, she has friends. She's not going to just go to Between for forever. But Lauren does assure her that while there are deviant citizens of Between, some of the things that she was worried about, like orgies, doesn't happen. But we also learned that Between is a sentient landmass, which is how Sasha became the true queen. She had to defeat the nightmares and prove her worth to the land, who has a fondness for grand gestures and impossible feats. It's wretchedly dramatic for a landmass, end quote. It's impossible because the nightmares were infinitely stronger in dreams. No one should be able to beat them in their own realm. Lauren crossed the wastelands when he was awake. Sasha did try to get backsies being the queen of Between, but Between cares little about intentions, only actions, and the only way Sasha can give backsies is death, unfortunately. And so Sasha has to leave for Between because otherwise Lauren cannot close the portal. By staying in the Earther realm, she continues to enter Between in her dreams, and there will be catastrophic consequences for this, such as Sasha staying longer and longer and longer until eventually she falls into a coma, unleashing all sorts of chaos in both realms. And part of why Sasha was able to do this anyway was because when Sasha was 5, Between chose her to be a dreamer. Lauren advised that she was meant to be an artist and that there was no one to greet her when she was 5 on that hill, which is why she was chased by the nightmares. There was a caretaker who was supposed to be there to greet her who failed her. She paid a price by not being able to dream for years, and she was thwarted by wild magic. And the wild magic thwarted her progress rather than helping her achieve her dreams. And it was really cute that the shadow cloak kept on patting her legs reassuringly, and Lauren was very upset about this. He was thinking that the cloak had changed allegiances so easily. But they do have to be co-rulers and marry each other, but neither of them want to be married, and neither to each other or in general. She mentioned how Lauren isn't very charming, so Lauren advised that she's thinking of fairy tale princes, not fairy tale kings. Princes have nothing more to do than gallivant around the kingdoms, wooing women and drinking wine. Kings are forced to spend their time in serious pursuits like raising taxes, maintaining order, and kicking unruly citizens into swamps. It sours the temperament somewhat, end quote. We learn that Between is not one of these beauteous fairy tale kingdoms found in storybooks used to lull good-tempered children to sleep. Between is the cautionary tale that parents use to threaten their disobedient offspring. It's a kingdom of wild magic, dangerous beasts, hourly disasters, and a population that consists primarily of petty thieves, assassins, spies, and one quasi-cannibal. Exile in Between is the number 1 punishment in otherworld kingdoms and is ranked worse than flogging, life imprisonment, and dismemberment by rabid wolves. Ruling the kingdom is little better than a punishment. He's been trying to create order out of the ever-changing daily chaos that is Between, and he's failed miserably. In order to rule the kingdom of Between, you must have the considerable cunning, moral flexibility, and the constitution of an ox. Between must have seen all 3 of these in Sasha before it chose her to rule. Sasha does bring up the boons, and he asks how she found that out, and so she says Lila, and he's like, oh, Lila, he doesn't like Lila, and it's like, Lila's awesome. Lila's her best friend that we all need. She requests that her first boon be more time to prepare for the journey. Before she's able to fully make this request, he advises that he can only give her 6 days at best, because there's going to be the High King will figure out who she is, and he will do whatever he must to maintain the safety of Otherworld, which means closing the portal by any means possible. And Lauren cannot guarantee Sasha's safety if the High King becomes involved. So she changes her boon to spending 6 days here, then 1 week in Between, and 1 week to say goodbye to her family and friends, and then she will come live in Between. Hopefully during this time, it will give Lila enough time to figure out how to get Sasha out of this, and she also requests the ability to be able to communicate with Lila while she's in Between. The caveat to all of this is that if there is immediate, life-threatening, apocalyptic danger, she will cut short her 6 days' time and travel to Between with Lauren immediately. In Chapter 12, Sasha is unable to sleep and shared the events of the evening with Lila, especially since it sounds like Between is basically a cesspool and probably stuck in the Middle Ages. And she does try to tread carefully with Lila to keep her from causing a scene, but she still causes a scene by trying to convince Sasha to run away from all this, and they would go someplace warm and tropical. But she finally does convince Lila that, hey, she has to stay because there's no way to escape Between. Like, it's going to continue to get worse and worse and worse, and then all hell's going to break loose, and it's better to just stay. So Lila decides that she's going to read up on Between's marriage laws to find out how she can help Sasha just get out of this. And then during this planning, Sasha fell asleep and woke up on a very different hill from before. She's now on a very cold mountain, and when she looks around, she sees Lorne is there, and he tells her, "Oh, Between is trying to show off because this is the most beautiful spot." And they actually had a nice talk where Lorne was polite to her and offered her his cloak and tunic for her feet to keep her from freezing to death. And she finally saw the city and castle of Between and found out that all this land that she's able to see is Between. And this area is one of the few sites that's not lethal, diseased, or on fire. As she's waking up, we find out that Lorne can turn himself into a big bird, and he had to tease her about this before by showing her he has the ability to change into the bird and to fly. In chapter 13, she wakes up and tells Lila that her almost husband is a bird, and then unfortunately, before she was able to go back to sleep, we see the first hint that creatures are starting to sneak into Old Middleton. There was an imp at the window sill and was staring and having a staring contest at Sasha till it licks the window, which causes the runes on the window to flare to life, and the creature flew back from the sill and landed on the ground. Because of this, the runes flared and let them know that there's something going on. And Sasha was, of course, bless her, worried that the imp was hurt. But the imps are pure magic and can withstand a nuclear attack. It's fine from the runes. However, because the imps are here, that means bigger creatures might be around the corner. Sasha decides that she wants to do some research about the creatures, and Lila's usually the researcher, but she decides she wants to read up on the creatures to learn what to expect, so to come her way. So Sasha reads Dastardly and Dank, the book about creatures of Between, or officially called All Things Dastardly and Dank, a guide to the beasties of Between, both human and creature, by Quadruple Van Beastark Adventure, Beast Wrangler, Plumber. Dastardly and Dank is the beginner's guide to the fauna of Between, and it is the kindergarten version. It's a creature's Quadruple Van Beastark has encountered during the wanderings of Between, a bit like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, except far more dastardly. We get the drawings, and then we learn about the imps. Everyone seems to want to have lewd manners and general drunkenness in Between. No one seems to be sober at all. Meanwhile, Lila is doing her own research and having a tete-a-tete with the books where she addresses them. I just love this scene so much. It's too funny just to picture it in my head, because she's in the basement and she's talking to the books, saying that she began their association with the best of intentions. She called them beautiful. She felt privileged to be there. And then the books, because they are magical books, are shifting to listen, and they try to set her on fire. They try to attack her. They try to stop her from reading them because she's not magical. And she even got out a letter opener in response to them attacking her. But now Lila is trying to actually negotiate with the books because she's going to help her friend. And they have two options. Either they can give her what she wants and then she never bothers them again, or they choose violence and don't help her, and then she gets what she wants because she is Lila and she's stubborn as fuck, and she gets it, and then she's going to come back every single day to bother them because she is petty and vengeful, and I love her. And so the books were clustering around and conferring before they decided to have a battle cry of fighting back. And while she was maintaining eye contact with them, she tore a page, and that is what on the rather ominous note that we leave them on. And we leave the girls till next week. And now this is the end of the second week of the fun, and I'm going to continue to do the breakdowns of this each week, discussing what happens in each chapter. I really hope this is continuing to be helpful and at least somewhat entertaining. Please comment and let me know what you think, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. But there is so much, again, that continues to happen, and I can't wait to discuss this all with you. Until next time, you beautiful cuddlebugs, stay warm and cozy, and I will catch you all next time. Goodbye.